Let's just talk about the Republican race overall. You write about it regularly. Where do you see things standing now in terms of who's in the top tier, who's doing well right now?
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump
Yeah.
and Donald Trump. I mean, we're in a perhaps strange period. We don't know. He's taken all the oxygen out, to use a cliche. It makes it very difficult for anybody else, possibly with the exception of Jeb Bush, to get any visibility, any traction. The good thing for all of them is it's July and not November or December, and we'll have to see what happens to Mr. Trump as the months go on.
Is Trump doing well here?
I would think so. He's definitely getting the attention. People are turning out in big numbers. There is interest, and they're paying attention. But wouldn't you think that Jeb Bush would be kind of, he wouldn't mind all this attention that Donald Trump is getting, because his numbers are staying steady in the polling. Yeah. It's eating into the numbers for Cruz and Carson and Perry. So you would think he actually probably doesn't mind.
What are you hearing from the donor class and the campaigns about the Trump rise, that they hope it'll just go away by fall?
Well, they do hope that will happen. Everybody I've asked the question, how long does this sustain itself? Nobody knows. I think the hope of the establishment, obviously, is that it's a very short summer fad that he has, but nobody's quite sure. I mean, he's obviously tapping into something. I think the point you made earlier in the program is the right one. Right now, he's an attention grabber. People want to hear what he says, and he's registering with at least some segment of the population.
Right.
At some point, people will ask themselves, who do I really want to be president? Who do I really want to lead the Republican Party?
Right.
I think at that point, there's a different level of scrutiny and a different set of judgments that come into play.
The one thing it reminds me of is Perot. When Perot was at his height, leading in the national three-way in '92, the Democrats and Republicans didn't have any idea what to do with him. Over time, he got scrutiny about crazy, wild things he said in his contemporaneous statements, but I don't get the sense that stuff hurts Trump the way it hurt Perot.
But people are interested in the celebrity right now. He's organizing a big picnic in Iowa where there's going to be free food, and so
when's that?
And it's coming up soon.
Free food. I want to be there. Walker announced on Monday you were there. How do you think his launch week is going?
Well, I think it's been basically pretty good. I think he had a little bit of a hiccup with the issue with the Boy Scouts and gays, and he had to again kind of clarify himself. He's had to do that several times over the last 4 or 5 months. But the ending of the John Doe investigation was a weight off his shoulders. And you and I were just over at this event that he had earlier here. He had a big crowd, good turnout. So
those clarifications, which, as you said, he's had to do several times, sometimes on big policy issues like immigration, on abortion, but sometimes on smaller things. What do you make of that? Is that just bad luck, or is there something about his skill level that causes him to put himself in those positions?
I think the issue is what his instincts are. It's a combination of his convictions and his instincts. And I think the risk for him is that the more he does that, there are two things that happen. One is he either gets pushed too far to the right in terms of what people think of him, which is not really where he wanted to be when he started out this campaign. And the second is it continues to raise the question of how ready is he, how knowledgeable is he, and how much does he know. And so he'll have to, he's done a lot of homework, and he's pretty smooth on a lot of issues right now. But spontaneously, there's still moments when he's a little bit wobbly.
There is a thing, that's happening in Iowa. It's a Walker flipometer that's, being talked about by Iowa Republicans, and I would say it's in the yellow right now, and Republicans are waiting to see if it goes into the red or if he can get it back.
If he does more of these, and it suggests, it's a little bit ironic because, of course, the main thing he's running on is I'm a man of solid conviction, and I don't waver. And yet, I think it is his biggest problem right now.
But I think on a lot of those major issues, those big issues, he is pretty solid. He does know what he thinks about those.
Right. So, Jeb Bush giving a speech on Monday to paint himself as kind of the anti-establishment figure, son of a president, brother of a president. Clearly, he has some credentials in that respect. He's not been someone working in Washington. Can he convince Iowan Republicans around the country that he is an anti-establishment candidate?
He's a reformer with results.
Right.
If you remember that phrase
line
from George W. Bush's campaign when he was being, threatened by John McCain. Look, anybody who has not served time in Washington can try to present themselves as from outside of Washington, and he can do that with some credibility, and he can talk about a record he compiled in Florida and some of the reforms that he put in place there. presenting himself, and I'm not convinced he's going to try to do this, as not part of the establishment, I don't think will sell.
Right. They're not quite the same thing, but he is going to have a little bit of a hurdle there, and obviously they're making that concerted effort because he can't win if he's only a candidate seen as establishment Bush.